there, welcome to my kitchen. I'm Elizabeth from Total Wellness Health Coaching and the Autoimmune Free Cooking Club. I have a great Instant Pot recipe for you today. I think you're going to love it. Stick around and see how easy and you can see how delicious I think it is, but you're going to have to make it yourself to taste how delicious it is. Welcome if you're brand new here, or welcome back if you're not brand new here. I'm happy to have you again. I'm Elizabeth. I am the owner and operator of Total Wellness Health Coaching and Autoimmune Free Cooking Club, which is a membership site and where you can find all of these recipes, and some of them are available for free. So head on over to Autoimmune Free Cooking Club and just look around. There's all kinds of good stuff there. Today we've got the Instant Pot out again. Fall is coming, so we're going to have a yummy roast. This is about I asked for 2.5 pounds. I think it's 2.6, 2.7 chuck roast. There's not a trash can there. Sometimes I have a trash can right there. I don't want to throw that bloody, meaty piece of paper on the floor. Let me get my knife. So we've got this chuck roast. I think I'm going to cut it into 4 pieces. And I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm not going to cut any of the fat out of it or anything because I want that. I really should have sharpened my knife. Believe it or not, I thought about it. I was like, nah, I'm not going to. So just cut it into some chunks. They'll help it cook more evenly, cook a little faster, and just make it a little bit more manageable. Okay. In this bowl right here, I have a little spice blend that I mixed up. If you've made my carnitas, it's the same. I think it's the same. Everything's a 1/4 teaspoon. 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic salt, sorry, 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, and, you guessed it, 1/4 teaspoon of smoked paprika. So we're making our own sort of barbecue rub. Can I tell you what we're making? I don't think I did. We're having barbecue beef. So I know barbecue is a touchy subject. It means different things to different people, different parts of the country, how you were raised. This is going to be a tomato-based barbecue sauce. I told you what was in my rub. There's no sugar because there's a little bit of sugar in my sauce. We try not to do a lot of sugar around here. I have a tablespoon of bacon fat in my pan, and it has melted. I'm going to saute more, which is the high level. And as I put this piece in, I'm going to use it to kind of swirl that fat around. Yeah, I think I can get all 4 of these in. I'm going to clean this up, and I'll be right back. Okay, this is real simple. This is how I start my carnitas, a bunch of chicken dishes. It's just real simple. A little bit of fat in the bottom of the pan. I'm using bacon fat because that smoky flavor will go really well with my barbecue beef. If I were not wanting that smoky sort of bacony flavor, I would use avocado oil or maybe olive oil. Just not canola, vegetable corn. Those guys are pretty inflammatory, so we don't use those. Just put it in there and let it go. Let it go. And brown on at least 2 sides, maybe 3 sides if I have the time. Once the meat's brown, I'm going to take it out. I'm going to pour in my sauce. I'm going to deglaze my pan, and then I'm going to cook it 45 minutes on And I'll let my pressure come down naturally at least 10 minutes, maybe longer if I'm still working on the rest of dinner. And that's it. I'll take my beef out, I'll shred it, I'll put it back in the sauce. It'll be delicious. I'll show it to you for sure. My sauce is ketchup, molasses, apple cider vinegar, some hot sauce. I like Frank's original hot sauce, coconut sugar, and chicken broth. If I had a good beef broth, I would have used that, but I didn't have any. I had a good chicken bone broth. And I just mixed it in my measuring cup so I can measure as I went. And that's it. So it's all mixed and be ready to go in. Let's see how it is. It smells amazing. Okay, can you see this? The browning. That's just what we want. Beautiful, beautiful. So if you're brand new here, thanks for joining me. I appreciate you taking your time to watch my video. I am a functional medicine health coach. I came about that career because I use functional medicine, which is diet and lifestyle medicine, to heal myself of Crohn's disease, which is a very serious autoimmune disorder. My husband also has an autoimmune disease, and we're trying to keep our kids healthy, and we're trying to keep ourselves healthy. And so we started cooking this way, which, 10 years ago we called it paleo. Paleo's not super popular anymore for whatever reason. I have no idea. But we still cook the same way. We still eat the same way. Grain-free, mostly dairy-free. We try to keep our sugars to the less refined, more natural versions like coconut sugar, molasses, honey, maple syrup, that kind of thing, instead of granulated sugar or brown sugar. And I'm a homeschool mom. I have a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old. We've homeschooled from the very beginning. This is coming out during the days of COVID, and most people are homeschooling now, and we've been doing it by choice forever. So if you're and all of a sudden homeschooler, not by choice, I can help you with that. But when we decided we were going to eat this way, this is how we were going to manage our disease, I decided the food has to be really good. We're not going to be able to do this because I love to cook, I love to eat, I love to share good food, I love to take care of my family with good food. I like them to sit down at the table and go, oh, that was so good. Thank you for making this yummy meal for us. So it had to all work together. It had to make me healthy. I was really sick at the time. And it had to keep everybody happy, including myself. And we just set on this way of eating that we call paleo. And we love it, and we're happy, and we're healthy. And so I started sharing recipes via YouTube because I want other people to cook this way, to feel good, or even if you just haven't cooked, didn't have a grandma or a mom or a dad who taught you how to cook, who really taught you how to love cooking, maybe I could teach you how to love cooking. And I'm not talking to you while I cook. I like to watch other YouTube videos. I like to watch Netflix, or I like to listen to podcasts, or some favorite music. I'm going to turn this off. I make my cooking time fun. It's going to sizzle. That's okay. I make my cooking time fun, so I look forward to it. I work really hard all day long at my job as a health coach, as a teacher, as a mom, as a wife, taking care of my house, my whole household. So I look forward to 5 o'clock when I get up from my desk, or walk away from the laundry, whatever it is, and get to make dinner. And I have trained myself to enjoy the process. So if you don't currently enjoy cooking, I would just encourage you to find a way to make it enjoyable for you. So what I'm doing is deglazing my pan, which means all the little kind of browned bits, which would be the spices mostly, that browned on the bottom of my pan while I was browning my meat. I'm scraping those up because if you don't scrape those up, your pot very likely, it won't fall over like that, but it won't seal, and you need it to seal so that it will pressurize. So as I put each piece in, I'm just going to toss it around. In my sauce, I'm just going to cook my meat in my sauce. There's no like cooking a sauce on the stove separately. This is so unfussy. Now, if you don't have an Instant Pot, or maybe you are still working away from home and this 45-minute cooking time wouldn't work for you, use the slow cooker function, either with your Instant Pot or a separate slow cooker, and just do the same, kind of follow the same process. Put all these little juices in that accumulated because that's flavor. And set this and forget it in the morning before you head to work, okay? And it will be just as good. All right, my gasket's in. I know it's in because I just used it for something else and washed it and put it back in. So I'm going to seal my pot, move my valve to sealing. I'm going to press manual. And then the pressure button, because I was just cooking something on low pressure, and so I needed to hit the pressure button to move it to high pressure. And then I'm pressing the plus to get it up to 45 minutes. And that's it. In 30 seconds it'll beep, and that means I can't change anything. So if I think, oh, that was a really huge roast, or maybe you're doubling your recipe. Oh, I'm doubling it. Let me add like 10 minutes to the cooking time. Once it's done that little beep, you can't unless you turn it off. So you can hit cancel at any time. Cancel and then reset it. But after it beeps, it's going. And so if I hit the plus or the minus, it won't do anything. This is my 6-quart Instant Pot from 2016. Okay, so it's 4 years old. You can still get this very one because every time I link it in a recipe or a YouTube video write-up, I find the same one on Amazon. It says, you purchased this in December of 2016. But there are also versions that are slightly different. This is still the same size for the 6-quart, but there are pro versions that have an all-digital interface. And there are just slight variations in the buttons, but you're going to have the manual and the pressure and the plus and minus. There's going to be basically the same. So you just want high pressure, 45 minutes, and then let it do its thing. And I'll see you back here in a little bit. All right, welcome back, everybody. The roast has cooked for 45 minutes. Let me release the rest of the pressure. Whenever you're making, for lack of a more delicate way to say this, a hunk of meat, so a roast, a pork roast, a whole chicken, something like that, it's really important to let the pressure come down naturally for at least 10 minutes. That's kind of the golden time. It's the same thing with like you grill a nice steak, you bring it in and you should let it rest for, at least 10 minutes to let the juices kind of come back in, redistribute throughout the meat, so you end up with a juicy piece of meat and not a dry piece of meat. So if you're making soup or bone broth, which bone broth I let the pressure come down naturally anyway, but like a risotto type thing, you don't need to let the pressure come down naturally. You can just do a quick release and get on with eating your meal. But with any sort of roast or hunk of meat, you want to let the pressure come down for at least 10 minutes and then quick release the rest. So there's a lot of condensation in the lid, so just remove it carefully. And you see what's happening in there? It's beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and just turn this off and then turn on saute and adjust it down to low because it's already boiling. Now, if you have a fat separator, which I used to, and I don't anymore, but if you did, I would pour the sauce into a fat separator and let, like the oil will come to the top and then you pour out the non-oil part. And that way you won't have a fatty sauce. You will get a steam facial if you do this. this roast is not super duper tender. If you found me from the pot roast video, that was the very first video I ever made, you saw that was like the world's toughest roast. And it was not chuck roast, it was, oh dear, I can't remember now what it was. If I go to my meat counter at Whole Foods and I tell them I'm making pot roast, they'll tell me to buy that cut of meat, whatever that was. Sorry, I can't remember. And as you saw, I tried it over and over and over. And when I finally bought a chuck roast, which is fattier to start with, I got really good results. And so I've only ever made chuck roast since then, and I've never had it be tough, 45 minutes has been good. But this one is a little bit tougher, but that's all right. I'm shredding it. I'm going to put it back in that sauce and let it simmer away. So you just want to shred this. Now I bet you that I'll pull out another piece and it'll be much more tender than that. So one of the great things about the Instant Pot is that I could repressurize this if I wanted to. I could have pulled that out and like, oh, this is not as tender as I want. Putting it back in. Put it back in for a few minutes and it would come back up to pressure again pretty quickly because it's still really hot. So I'm trying to pull out the chunks of fat, the veins, that kind of stuff, just because I don't want my kids to bite into that. They'll be grossed out by it, and then they'll be suspicious of everything I cook for the rest of their lives. So I take this time to make it nice. You know what? This is going to taste good, and it's fine, but it certainly isn't super tender, and it should be. And I have made this particular dish in this exact way, and and it was perfect. I've used this cut of meat actually many times, and it's been perfect in this amount of time. So 45 minutes I think is the right amount of time for this cut of meat typically, but of course because I'm videoing this today, I have a tough one. So there's like these little pieces of it's the tissue that's between the pieces of the muscle in the animal. And so I'm just pulling that out again. It'll be fine. You could eat it. But my kids would not be super excited to eat it. So I'm taking it out. You see how hard that's bubbling away? So that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to continue to shred this meat and put it back in. So we're going to double time that for you. This is what it should be like. It should just come apart super easily like this. It's almost like I have two cuts of meat. But you saw it. I had to cut it apart, right? It was one thing. Alrighty, let's give it a taste, shall we? Show you how I'm serving this tonight. Okay, so paleo means grain-free. So that does include gluten-free because gluten is a grain. But it's also, there's no rice and there's no corn and quinoa, all the grains. So it's grain-free because grains are inflammatory and promote disease in some people, not all people, but some people. And I'm one of those some people. So we try to keep things grain-free around here as much as possible. And so I've been experimenting with these grain-free breadsticks. So these I happen to put a little bit of cheese on top. When I first made this barbecue beef recipe, I was making a grain-free hamburger bun, which those are excellent, by the way. So that recipe is coming. And so we had these as a sandwich, and I made coleslaw, and we had some homemade pickles. It was just this great barbecue sandwich. But I needed to work on my breadstick recipe. So tonight we're having breadstick on the side, and I just have a big salad. My cherry tomatoes have come back in the garden. They're so good. And we're just going to have the beef on the side. So make some kind of sandwich. Kind of the classic paleo way to serve something like this is over a baked sweet potato, or you could just make some mashed potatoes on the side in the barbecue and some green vegetable. It would be absolutely delicious. So flavorful. Actually cooking the meat in the sauce makes it more flavorful, and it's certainly easier. We cut our meat, we put the spices on the outside, we browned it a little bit, took it out, mixed up a quick sauce, poured that in, deglazed the pan, put the meat in, tossed it around, and put it in to cook. It was super, super, super easy. Again, you can use the slow cook function and just let it go all day long. If you use slow cook on the Instant Pot, you definitely want to use the high, not the low. And you have to have a special lid. You can't use the pressure lid, but they sell one. I'll link one down below. And it's a slow cooker. So to cook a roast like this, I would say cut your meat into smaller pieces, actually, and 10 to 12 hours probably, which that might work for some of you in your lifestyle. Every other slow cooker I have had that's just, it's just a slow cooker. It's not a multi-cooker like the Instant Pot. They cooked much faster than that. So if you use the Instant Pot, just know that the slow cook function is slow. But I thank you for joining me tonight. I hope you will give this recipe a try. Let me know what you think. I hope you get a tender cut of meat. Like I said, I chose a chuck roast. That's always been a really good cut for me for this type of application. But don't hesitate to put it back in and cook it for a few more minutes and see if it gets a little bit more tender. But it's really good. It was just not, all the pieces weren't like fall apart. But that's variation in the muscle of the cow. So we thank the cow for providing our meal, and I'm not going to complain about it. So I'm happy that you're here. Thank you for stopping by. If you like this video, please subscribe, hit that little bell icon so you'll get notified when a new video goes up, which is almost always every Wednesday. Leave a comment, let me know who you are, why you're here. I'd love to get to know you. We have a super nice community. People are generally very helpful and provide lots of extra tips. And again, thank you for stopping by. I hope you have a great dinner, everybody, and I'll see you next time.